90% of corporate strategies fail in execution. Not because the strategy was wrong. Because the people executing it never understood why it mattered. This is the framework that changes that. You've built something real. A business that moves. But somewhere between the boardroom decision and the ground floor action, alignment breaks down. Sales doesn't know what product is building. Product doesn't know what the market actually wants. Leadership is frustrated. Teams are spinning. And your competitive window is closing. According to McKinsey's 2023 Organizational Health Index, companies with poor strategy alignment waste approximately 23% of their operational budget on redundant or misaligned work. That's not a mistake. That's a slow bleed disguised as business as usual. You've probably tried traditional strategic planning, annual reviews, quarterly plans. But most frameworks treat strategy like a document you write and file. Not like a living system that shapes every decision, every resource allocation, every hire. The cost of that misunderstanding? For mid-market companies, it's typically $3 to $5 million per year in lost velocity. For enterprises, it's multiples of that. And the real damage isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in market share you surrender to competitors who move faster. What you're about to learn is the Cascade Alignment Velocity Framework. It's not new, but it's been refined through working with private equity firms, Fortune 500 operating partners, and scaling founders who built billion-dollar exits. This framework does three things. First, it translates boardroom strategy into actionable unit-level decisions. Second, it creates feedback loops so strategy actually improves as you learn. Third, it gives every leader in your organization a clear line of sight between their work and your winning move. In the next 8 minutes, you'll learn exactly how to architect this. You'll see how Spotify's engineering organization stays aligned across 2,000 engineers without slowing down. You'll understand the discipline that separates Apple's product strategy from every Android competitor trying to copy it. And you'll get a concrete playbook for implementing this at your level, regardless of company size. This isn't aspirational. This isn't theoretical. This is how organizations that win actually work. The first principle is cascade, not broadcast. Most executives make the same mistake. They announce the strategy, assuming it cascades down. It doesn't. Strategy cascades only when every layer translates it into their own terms, their own metrics, their own constraints. Here's the evidence. A 2022 Gallup study found that only 19% of employees could name a single strategic priority of their organization. Not because employees were disengaged, because strategy was handed down, not translated down. Look at how Amazon does this. Their leadership principle, customer obsession, isn't a slogan. It's a cascade. Every division, every team, every engineer answers a specific question. What customer problem are we solving? And why does it matter more than the operational efficiency cost? When Andy Jassy brought that discipline to AWS, 3 things changed immediately. First, infrastructure decisions started happening at the team level without committee approval. Second, the time from idea to deployed change dropped from 90 days to 14 days. Third, revenue per engineer climbed 34% in 18 months. Here's how you architect this. Take your top 3 strategic priorities. For each one, write the translation at every level of your organization. Not the company version. Not the division version. The team level. Individual contributor version. What does customer obsession mean for a database engineer at AWS? It means building systems that make it faster for developers to deploy. That's cascade. Then give each leader a constraint that forces translation. Tell them they have 90 days to write their unit's response to the strategy. Not their plan to execute it. Their interpretation of what it means at their level. That forces clarity. It also surfaces confusion early. The second principle is alignment through transparency. Not alignment through control. Most leaders assume alignment means everyone does what you tell them. That's compliance, not alignment. Real alignment happens when people can see how their decisions connect to collective outcomes. Transparency creates accountability faster than any inspection regime. Satya Nadella inherited a Microsoft organization that was deeply misaligned. Different divisions competing against each other. Strategy documents that contradicted each other. Engineers building features that product didn't want. Product shipping things that customers didn't need. His move wasn't to centralize control. It was to make everything visible. He published the company strategy not as a memo, but as a working artifact. Every quarter, he updated it publicly with new learning. Every division had to write their strategy in direct response. Every engineer could see how their work ladder up to the division strategy, the company strategy, and the quarterly pivot. Within 2 years, Microsoft's stock price tripled. But more importantly, decision velocity increased across the board. Engineers could make bigger bets without approval because the frame was visible. Divisions could move faster because misalignment became obvious in real time. Not at the quarterly review. Here's the application. Start with your strategy visibility. Take whatever you use to communicate strategy right now. Whether that's a slide deck, a memo, or a quarterly review. Assume 70% of your leadership team has a different interpretation than you do. Because they probably do. Now create a single source of truth. Write your strategy in the format your organization can interrogate. Why this? Not that. What changes if we learn this? How do we pivot? Then give leaders permission to update it. Quarterly, not annually. That forces them to check their work against reality. That's the mechanism. Transparency doesn't scale without the discipline of incremental updates. The third principle is velocity through feedback loops, not velocity through pressure. Most organizations confuse pace with velocity. They push harder, the system collapses. What separates winners is the speed at which they learn and adjust. Here's the data. Companies that conduct strategy reviews quarterly or more frequently have 2.3 times better execution rates than companies that review annually, according to Bain Capital Research. But here's the catch. Those reviews have to generate actual change, not just discussion. The difference is Spotify. Most music services competed on catalog size and interface design. Spotify competed on the feedback loop. Their engineering organization deploys code 4,800 times per week. Every deployment generates real-world learning about what users actually do. That learning feeds directly back into strategy decisions. If a feature shows weak adoption despite predictions, they kill it in days. Competitors take months. Why? Because their strategy framework doesn't treat the plan as sacred. It treats assumptions as hypotheses. Every strategic bet comes with a learning metric. If the metric isn't moving by week 3, they pivot or kill it. That's not indecision. That's discipline. For your organization, this means building a rhythm. Monthly data reviews. Not PowerPoint reviews where you celebrate what went well. Data reviews where you actively look for broken assumptions. If customer acquisition cost is higher than planned, what changed in your market? Did your messaging miss? Did competitor intensity increase? That question cascades down. It forces everyone in the organization to recheck their assumptions monthly, not annually. Then, critical step. Mandate that strategy changes can happen between quarterly reviews if the data is clear enough. That sounds chaotic. It's actually the opposite. It prevents the ossification where you're all executing against a plan that reality has already disproved. Let's imagine this framework working inside your organization 18 months from now. Strategy decisions are still made at the top, but now they're shaped by real input from the ground. When your head of sales warns that a customer segment is moving away, that's not a complaint filed in a feedback form. That's a data point that immediately questions a strategic assumption. You address it in a sprint, not at next year's planning session. Your divisions are moving faster. They're still aligned. But alignment doesn't slow them down anymore because the frame is clear and visible. A product team can ship a feature variant without getting approval from 4 committees because the strategic intent is transparent. If it doesn't contribute to the strategic priority, it becomes obvious immediately. Your best people aren't leaving. Startups were recruiting them by offering clarity and pace. You're now offering something better. Clarity, pace, and the intellectual honesty to adjust when reality changes. That's magnetic to ambitious people. Your execution rate climbs. Not because you pushed harder, because you stopped executing against stale plans. By month 12, you're shipping 40% more of your planned strategic initiatives because you're not wasting energy on things that aren't moving the needle. And your board isn't in the dark anymore. You don't bring them bad news in the quarterly review. You bring them adjusted learning. The market shifted. Thanks for listening. If you found this valuable, please subscribe to Apex Minds D4J for more powerful insights. See you in the next one.